I've told this story before on here, but I think it's so fabulous that I will repeat it. My mother was born at the beginning of the war, and so all her life she'd really known nothing but sugar rationing. And she was brought up by my grandmother, who was one of a breadth of, if I said battle axes, two of her sisters, the two aunts that I remember were lovely. But the other sister that was often talked about was Aunt Lucy, and Aunt Lucy was a nursing sister, and she was very, very strict. And my mother remembers being taken, sugar rationing hadn't been long off, so she would have been around 10 or 11, and Aunt Lucy took her to Lyons Corner House. And she was taken in, she sat down, and they had their cup of tea, their pot of tea, and my mother watched saucer-eyed as round came one of the nippies with her tongs and a tiered cake tray. And there were little iced fancies, and what they were little shapes of sponge cake, and they had like a glacé, a brightly coloured glacé icing on top of them. And obviously in her entire life, I mean, this was just... And she watched with watering mouth as the nippy worked her way from table to table to table. And finally she got to my mother's table, and the woman looked at her, smiled and said, "Now, what would you like, my dear?" And my Aunt Lucy looked absolutely... "Oh, no, far too rich for a child. Bring us some bread and butter." And off it was taken, and she got bread and butter. And when she told me that, and it would have been 60 or 70 years previously, my mother's, the hurt in her voice is still there, and she never forgot. And I don't show but yeah, no, she was utterly denied a rare treat because it was too rich for a child.